Hello everyone, my name is Christine and for my presentation in this class, I'm going to be talking about palm oil and our environment. So, what is palm oil? Palm oil is oil made from the African oil palm, and it's now the most commonly used vegetable oil in the world. It's really cheap and extremely versatile due to its chemical composition. It has ideal manufacturing properties such as being able to fry without spoiling, being extremely shelf stable in general, blending well with other oils, being cheaper than lots of other sources, especially animal fat, and being solid at room temperature. And this leads to its usage in almost everything that you can think of. So that means instant noodles, cosmetics, lots of soaps, foods. It's known to make things that are crispy to stay crisper for even longer and can even raise the melting point of ice cream, making it more resistant to hot weather and things like that. And because it is in everything, it's practically inescapable. Palm oil is a factor in our everyday lives. And because we are making so much stuff out of it, we are completely reliant on it. And this leads to overconsumption. So from 1995 to 2015, the production of palm oil was quadrupled, going from 15.2 million tons to 62.6 million tons. And it's expected for this market to grow in step with the expanding populations. Currently, 3 billion people in 150 countries use products containing palm oil. And what does this large-scale consumption lead to? It leads to two main things: deforestation and human rights abuses, which has to do with how we produce this palm oil. The first one I'm going to be talking about is deforestation, which is essentially the bulk of what is wrong with palm oil. When we farm palm oil, we tend to produce it in plantations, which require huge amounts of land. Again, this is due to keeping up with the sheer demand for the product. We do this by clearing large patches of tropical rainforest and peatland, destroying all of that landscape, and then replanting the entire area with rows and rows of the African palm tree. This obviously leads to loss of habitat and lots of biodiversity. So lots of organisms are being driven out from their homes or essentially being destroyed, like elephants, rhinos, tigers, and orangutans. But it's not just only them. Research has shown that only about 15% of native animal species can survive that harsh transition from forest to plantation. The burning of rainforests also releases lots of emissions. So replacing rainforests with palm oil plantations reduces the carbon absorption properties of the original rainforest. Additionally, peatlands and swamps are being drained and burned for more farmland. In that scenario, both carbon and methane are released into the atmosphere, releasing 100 times the amount of greenhouse gas of conventional forest fires. So in this picture, you can see what a typical preserved Indonesian rainforest looks like. It's really lush and vibrant, and you can see that it's quite ecologically active. And it's almost the opposite in this picture, which is when we introduce the demands of palm oil plantation into the landscape. So you can see how much of that biodiversity is being destroyed as we replace it by palm oil trees and the destruction it caused once we are done with said palm oil trees and we decide to cut it all down. There are also human rights abuses in this industry where workers are forced to meet labor or workers undergo forced labor to meet consumption quotas and communities are having their land taken away from them. This is because there's such a high demand for a product, which means a higher push for producers to make it. And they will try to capitalize on this quota by any means possible. So that means uh, through means of child labor, having a constant rotation of um, workers in the production process, and taking up as much land as possible in order to produce said product. So it's obvious that palm oil is really bad for the environment. But what happens if we stop using it? The problem is that palm oil is ridiculously efficient. There's no other equivalent plant source of oil. It produces an average of nearly 4 tons of oil per hectare, and no other crop can yield even about a third as much oil per acre planted. This means that replacing it with other crops would lead to even more land being used up to compensate for the loss of total volume of oil coming out. Additionally, the palm oil tree actually uses a lot less pesticides and chemical fertilizers than any other vegetable oil source. So in short, on a theoretical level, it is the quote-unquote perfect crop to use in oil production. There's also the issue of an economic downfall. So a lot of communities, especially in rural parts of Malaysia and Indonesia, rely on this particular crop and this mode of production as the main source of income. And when you eliminate this source of economic stability, you can plunge entire communities into huge economic depressions that they might not be able to recover from. And this is extremely and especially drastic if you are completely yanking out the palm oil production out from underneath these communities, leaving them with not just no source of income, but also huge patches of extremely damaged land. So palm oil is still a problem, and it's a very complex one. Our best bet in combating these downfalls is, like with everything, promoting sustainable usage, because the problem really lies in how much we consume this product and what we are doing to essentially keep up with our demand for this product. One huge step that we're taking is the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, which is an organization set to produce guidelines on ethical and sustainable palm oil production. However, lots of research says that these guidelines are very weak and very vague, but they're weak and vague on purpose, actually. This is so to make sustainable palm oil an easy way for companies to sort of involve themselves in conservation efforts and to really start the conversation going about what we can be doing to help protect our environment. Another way for us to take part in this conservation movement as individual consumers is to reduce our reliance on the goods that use it. It's really hard because, again, it is in everything, but in one case, we can at least try to limit our consumption of processed foods, which really rely on palm oil as their main source of fat. We can supplement this by using other varieties of vegetable oils from a variety of sustainable sources. Again, this is all about making conscious choices and limiting our ecological impact. So, in the end, we really should be voting with our dollar and checking the labels to understand what exactly we are consuming and to what level we are consuming it at. In that way, we can all use this information and collective bargaining to make sure that we are making the right choices for us and for our planet. Thank you.